here on the ring, in the ring, not on the ring, in the ring.
Give you a little bit of a bit. Well, hello everybody. My name is Tim Haden. I do have this very deceptive accent. I like to tell people it's the original New York accent. A few years back. I moved to the US 10 years ago, actually. It's my 10th anniversary this year. Moved here in 2006 with a company called Getty Images. You may or may not have heard of. They take photographs. Moved over with them, and I've always worked in and around technology. Kind of in my professional career before I started Hoodriders, worked with the kind of companies like AT&T, NBC, Universal, Mandarin Oriental. These are the kind of clients that I've worked with in a technology context, to say helping with their marketing and technology, whether it's a content management system, web analytics, or something of that nature to drive the personal experience. Most recently, I was at an ad tech company, TapAd. They had a $360 million exit, sold to Telenor, and it was after that I actually started Hoodriders. Has anyone heard of us? Not many hands up. A couple of hands over here. So we're a personal transportation company. Have you got that clicker actually?
Yes, I do.
We're a personal transportation company. If you've lived in New York, you know we've got a very reliable subway system. But you know, if you live on the east side, it's not to get to the west side. If you're trying to get around town, it might be more you live on kind of the outer edges. Maybe you're on First Avenue and you're on, trying to walk over to Lexington Avenue to catch the 6 train. Then you know it's a bit of a hassle, like hiking in the morning. So I've always been a cyclist, I guess. The problem with a bicycle is you ride your bicycle, make you ride it to work, you park it, you can't park it in the office, or you need to lock it up outside. And then it wasn't always all there when you got back, right? There was a meal missing, it was being done, maybe you had a nice bike, you wouldn't want to ride it to work. So, me personally, I was struggling with just getting around town in a more expeditious manner. So, I actually came across some of these personal transportation devices like anybody does online. Which button do I press?
The top one. There you go.
So I'm going to talk to you about how we got started and where we are today. But fundamentally, we deal in personal transportation. Everybody, who's heard of a hoverboard? Show of hands. Hoverboard that doesn't hover, right? That's the old joke there. So last year, I saw a YouTube video in and around these one-wheel things here. I have one here. It's called a 9-bot. The company that actually make these, well, this happened before we actually got started with them. They actually acquired Segway, you know, the stand-up transporters. But these 9-bots, they take a little bit of practice, but they're very good at getting around. Get about 15 miles on a single charge, and that'll pretty much take people to and from work. So this is the kind of the genesis of it. We saw a YouTube video on this. It's like, well, that looks fun. Above anything else, it looks fun. Hoverboards hadn't really taken off in January of last year. They were still very new to the market. I think they had been in CES. And to be honest, when I saw hoverboards for the first instance, I was skeptical. So that's fun and all, but that's not really going to help me get around. The wheels are too small. You know, New York sidewalks and pavements aren't really going to work for me. You know, getting around, and I was also starting to notice that, you know, the price erosion on these things, which is, you know, catastrophic. What was, I think, one of the earlier brands was selling their units at like $1,500 a pop, and very quickly the price started to erode, and before you knew it, they were selling in models for like $250. So as a retailer, I didn't want to get into a business where the margins were going to erode that quickly. So that was something to keep an eye on. So we started with the wheels. We quickly expanded into these other areas. We have a product here that's effectively an electric-powered kick scooter. This is one of my personal favorites. This is an electric wheel that you put on the front of your bicycle. So you don't need to go out and buy an expensive electric bicycle, right? They can, you know, they'll run like $1,500. You can actually attach this, replace your existing wheel on a regular bicycle with this, and you're off to the races, literally. And that's how you follow. This again is another product by 9bot. It's a bit more like a hoverboard. and it has a steering column here to actually direct it. So this is the kind of products we're interested in. Anything that will help someone get from A to B. We didn't want to just get in on hoverboards or just on this. We wanted to diversify our product range because this learning curve on here is quite steep. People weren't going to be able to jump on this and go straight away. But they were still looking for solutions in these kind of areas. So that's where we started. And look, I had worked for clients in the past, like Universal Orlando. They have these websites set up. They're transacting in e-commerce. I hadn't done anything from the ground up myself on my own back. So really, our website and Shopify successively being the platform we chose was something I just wanted to take on as a passion project anyway. I continue to work with Fortune 500 companies in and around big data and marketing consulting, but this was a passion project that just got me excited in the morning. So I've got a little laundry list here of the process we went through to really get things going, and I think for anybody starting out on this journey, it's important to really know where to go, right? I mean, even just setting up a company, I've had so many people ask, how do you set up a company? What does it cost? Who do I go to? Where do I go? One of the things that people will tell you is you start up a company in New York, you actually have to publish that company to the press. That can be an expensive process alone. Circa $2,000, even just for that publishing process. So one of the things that a smart lawyer will tell you, you can do that out of city. Exactly. So a smart lawyer will actually tell you, register upstate and then bring the company down. Right? That will drastically reduce the amount to start a company. So not every, when you're starting out, you're told these numbers and people aren't necessarily upfront with you when you embark on this. So that's not always great.
You want to go up and come back?
Publication requirement?
Yeah, publication requirements, exactly. The publication, if you start your company outside of the city, you drastically reduce the publication for an LLC. Yeah, for an LLC. Why start an LLC? Well, especially in this category of products, there is a potential for people to get injured. You always want to limit your personal liability. I'm not an attorney. This is just me speaking about my personal experiences. But again, that's why we decided to start an LLC in that context. Once you have that, you can then actually go out and open a bank account. Why do you want a bank account? Why do you want a separate bank account? Well, again, you're running your own company. You want to keep the financial aspects separate. And what you'll also be able to do, as you grow as a company, you'll be able to build your own credit as well. So the longer you're in business, like a person, the better chance you'll have of building credit. Obviously, we need to get a phone number as well. I cannot emphasize how important it is to be on that phone number all the time. We get people kind of call at all hours. It's kind of weird in some ways. And it's a portable number in as much as, we use Skype, but it could be Google Voice. But this is a great way for you to have your business phone number coming to your own phone. Doesn't matter where you are. Every phone these days comes with a data plan. And the Skype phone rings whether I'm out at the coffee shop, whether I'm in the office, whether I'm traveling. And that's the great thing about it. I can really handle those customers and be there for them. There is a surprising number of people who just want to speak to a person. Do not shy away from putting a phone number on your website. If there's no phone number there, people question whether it's even a real business. They don't like to know they can't speak to someone about it. I cannot emphasize that.
You answer 24/7, like even if you're sleeping while you wake up.
If my phone's on mute, I won't hear it.
Oh yeah.
But I pretty much leave it on. If I get a phone call at 11 o'clock, I'm like, sure, I'll take it. And you get a really good response from the customer.
I bet.
They're like, wow, and they're already choosing to do business with you if your product's available elsewhere.
What about personal answering service?
What can a personal answering service. I haven't missed any calls at 2 o'clock in the morning. I would see it as being missed. I get where you're coming from, but and I guess if we were seeing that drop off, that's something I would explore, but we're not seeing it. The other thing is get on top of your books, as it were. Right? Try and integrate everything and automate everything. We use QuickBooks. That plugs into our bank. That plugs into our credit card usage. Once we've got our bank account set up, we can of course get credit cards. We drop ship some products or stock some products. The great thing about a credit card is you get a window, a period of interest-free credit, right? Forget the promotions. There's typically a 30 or 60-day window where the credit card cycles run, and you can actually pay the bill in full at the end of the credit card cycle and not accrue any charges from your bank. So set up your accounting software. It will integrate with your bank. It will integrate with your credit cards, and you'll have all the financial transactions managed on the back end. That will reduce the cost you have to expend for traditional bookkeeping and accounting services. So that's something, again, I would recommend doing. Number 6 down here, I've got acquire domain, email, and social media channels. So this is getting tougher and tougher these days, right? You might come up with a cool brand name, but actually finding the domain can be a real challenge. And not only do you need to find a domain these days, but you now also need to think at least about squatting on the social media handles as well. By squatting on owning, even if you don't end up doing anything with it. We all know the top ones: Facebook, Pinterest, Snapchat, and Instagram. Right. So even if you haven't got a social media plan, acquire those handles so you can act on it later. You certainly don't want anyone else to acquire those handles. Select your e-commerce software. We use Shopify. I think we'll get into a separate conversation on that. I know that there are a lot of small businesses out there using Shopify. It's certainly not the platforms that large businesses are using. But don't try and boil the ocean. Take it one step at a time. I think certainly in other ventures, I've tried to do too much too soon. Don't grow ahead of your business. Have a plan, but don't grow ahead. Once we had the e-commerce, we then started loading in the products, the content, and the inventory. We then worked on the site design. A lot of e-commerce platforms these days, especially things like Shopify, have some basic templates you could use. I can't emphasize enough that you should use those. Of course, supply your own brands and colors, and then stock and manage the inventory. There are a wealth of drop shippers and suppliers out there. I found it pretty good with people like D&H. I don't know, does anyone use any drop shippers? In a show of hands, use drop shippers? Nobody uses drop shippers? Wow, okay, so it's a very, very good way to get your business up and running in a very risk-free manner. Right? You don't have to acquire any stock. It enables you to at least test the theory without spending large amounts of money. And I was doing all of this, by the way, with a zero budget. Any questions on any of that? I kind of wanted to see that.
What was the process of actually acquiring these dropshippers? Were there any challenges you'd like to share?
Yeah, sure. So I think some dropshippers do have requirements. Our initial goal was always to create our own website and sell on that channel. A lot of people go through Amazon, a lot of people go through eBay, and a lot of dropshippers sometimes have requirements around the minimum retail price and the channels that you can sell through. Not an awful lot of them are necessarily really happy when you sell through eBay and Amazon because it tends to more rapidly create price erosion on the products that you sell. So they're obviously working with manufacturers. Manufacturers make those stipulations to the dropshippers who subsequently make those stipulations.
What's that acronym? MAP?
Yeah, minimum advertised price. MAP price.
Can you try to adhere to that? Or?
Yeah, we do it in traffic. Now, that's the minimum advertised pricing. If you already have a customer, an email address, you can, of course, you have scope to actually reduce that in that context. Or if somebody phones up to context, which is another reason to have it. Sorry, there was another question on that question.
How did you pick your product? I mean, you just kind of knew you wanted to get into this, and you started exploring?
I think, so as a New Yorker, I always felt that, I can get in a taxi, but taxis are these days, right? Did anybody get a taxi out today in the rain? I mean, you can't find a taxi. And then when you do find a taxi, you end up in congestion, right? There's only so much space on the road. We've got people promising self-driving cars, we've got Ubers, we've got taxis, but there's a fundamental problem with the amount of space available to everybody these days. City Bike, I think, is a great, is great. I do love City Bike, but I still get sweaty riding a City Bike. They're not always, right around the corner. So ultimately, I was looking for convenience, and that's what took me to this product. I think everybody has something they're passionate about.
How do you find it?
So to be honest, I wasn't actively looking for personal transportation products. I was browsing YouTube, and the manufacturer of these is actually Chinese. So one of the first challenges I had was actually finding I didn't want to work with a manufacturer who didn't have operations in the US. I've heard too many horror stories about trying to acquire products from China, whether it's around the products actually getting shipped to you, whether it's around the products being what you ordered, and then around successive customer service requirements. I didn't want to get into a business where I wasn't going to be able to give a customer a level of service I would at least expect. So I was willing to give up quite a degree of margin just by finding the manufacturers who'd already set foot in the US. But again, the challenge is they do make specific requirements of you, and they're not going to sign up anyway. Right? You need to typically go meet with these people, start to convey some level of experience. Again, they don't want these products dropped on eBay or Amazon because they'll cut costs straight away and then your business. Any other questions?
Okay.
Sure.
I'm just curious, is that legal in Europe?
This is legal, and I actually have some interesting stories around this.
Hoverboards are not, right? So
I've got some good stories around that as well. Let's dwell on this a little because I know that there's a lot of folks in the community who will turn to things like Amazon and eBay. Now, Amazon and eBay are obviously giving up your margin to sell products. It will vary, but let's just say it's around 10%. When you're getting into these marketplaces, you don't typically need to advertise. They're taking on that responsibility. They're taking on the cost of transaction. They're taking on the responsibility of advertising. When you take on your own website, you effectively take that on yourself. You need to worry about advertising. You need to worry about transaction costs. You need to. There are options up here where they will do fulfillment. Down here, you need to think about fulfillment. In the long run, you will always need a website. If you want to build a brand, build a business, build equity in an asset that you can subsequently sell at some point in the future, you need your own brand. Furthermore, if you're going to have a meaningful relationship with customers, you need your own website. So don't think you can get away with just doing Amazon or eBay. We started here, and then we went there. Some people go from here to here, but you certainly need one of these if you're going to build a business with any longevity. So the next thing is everybody knows somebody who can build them a website. Does anybody know anyone who can't build them a website? Can I get a show of hands? See, everybody knows someone who can build them a website. But it's a lot more than just a website, right? It's not just a few HTML pages, and this is the mistake that your friend, I don't know them obviously, but they may well be making, and it's a lot more than that. And I've got a laundry list here of things that you need to be considering. Of course, you have the product information, description, pricing, photos, and videos. You need to be able to update that and manage that yourself. If it's not simple enough for you to be able to do it, you shouldn't be considering whatever solution is being presented to you. Because you do not want to have to pick up a phone every time and make literally, maybe it could be as simple as a spelling change, the period at the end of a sentence. You do not want to have to pick that up. Maybe you have a new photo, you want to be able to upload it. Maybe you need to change your pricing, you need to be able to change it. So you need to get onto a platform that's that simple. If somebody is giving you something and you need to get in touch with them, trying to make a change, stop the conversation right there. It's just not worth it. In today's day and age, I only need to tell you to reach into your pockets. Everybody has a smartphone. If you cannot deliver a website experience in a meaningful way on a smartphone, don't even go there. It's a prerequisite, it's table stakes. People will talk about things about being responsive. They may well try and talk you down an app route. Again, apps. I did a lot of consulting work for Mandarin Oriental in the past, the hotel chain. If anyone's ever been there, it's very nice and brunch. They also do a very reasonable fixed lunch for like $35 you wouldn't expect. But I did a lot of work with Mandarin Oriental. They created a mobile app And you would think this is a hotel chain that sells rooms at $800 a night. They created an app. They subsequently pulled the app, right? Because it requires that the consumer download that app. Unless you're trying to deliver an experience that thoroughly engages the consumer, don't even go there. You need a responsive site, and you need a platform that can do that. Inventory management is another thing, right? How many widgets have you got in the warehouse? What widgets are being assigned to which channels? Shipping costs, do you really want to calculate them every time, or do you want the platform to calculate that? Credit card processing, the ability to actually do fraud detection on these things as well. Is this a legitimate credit card? Does that credit card address match up with the consumer's address? Fulfilling that order. So what happens when you press, when the person submits their credit card and you ship that product, what emails are getting sent to confirm that person, to confirm to the customer that the product is getting shipped? How are they tracking that order? How are you able to inject your own content into that order? Sign up for our newsletter. You have been subscribed to our newsletter. Clicked here for a voucher. Status emails.
What sort of fraud and positive percentage that you see?
Let me get into that. I'll address that question. If I've got to it by the time I hear the briefing, I will get that. Email remarketing. If someone abandons a shopping cart, right? How are you remarketing to that person? You can do it via email. You can do it through display or advertising. What are you doing on social media? Of course, social media. There are so many different ways to do social media. And people say, "I do social media." I mean, does anyone know anyone who doesn't do something on social media? That's another one, right? Everybody is doing something on social media. Again, this breaks into so many different categories. You can pay for advertising on social media, right? It's dollars. You can drive your community to engage on social media. And the one that we're specifically talking to here is engaging with your store on social media, right? So it's another channel. It's kind of like a marketplace, kind of like an e-commerce store. Right? It's a marketplace in as much as there's a very large audience on social media, and we actually push our store out onto our Facebook page so people can actually buy directly from Facebook.
What are your preferred channels? Social media channels? Facebook, Instagram?
Yeah, I mean, you could spend so much time on social media. I think that, yeah, I mean, it's the big three. Right? We've done stuff on YouTube before, just because that's where we upload videos to. But yeah, it's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But again, we see platforms like Twitter eroding, right? Then it's synchronization of product information across all these different places. If you've got all these different channels that you're pushing your product out through, you certainly don't want to have to worry about updating every single one every day. You want that to be taken care of by your platform. You want, if you are starting to use things like Google and Facebook to do advertising and retargeting, you need to make sure that stuff's wired in. You need to make sure stuff's wired in for social sharing and email marketing. So there's a lot more here than just a guy who can build a website. We use Shopify. Shopify handles all of this. You buy a template, and it then handles a template. That's to say the look and feel of the site. It handles this, right? You can also get plugins for Shopify as well. They cost a nominal amount on a monthly basis. Once you've got one of their templates, you'll then just specify colors. You'll specify some rudimentary brand layouts, and you're done. And we're talking about a platform that you can run $100 a month and maybe $200 for a template. So you can do an awful lot, and you can get your company as well. You can do an awful lot for less than $1,000 investment. Now you add in drop shipping, and you're really off to the races. I haven't even done any advertising down here yet, but Shopify actually let you have $100 worth of advertising as well. You can't do an awful lot with $100, but it will allow you to experiment.
Sure. Another really way to manage is that you want to add something. There are really some applications out there. You don't have to hire workflow. For example, we have a website with the application on Shopify. It takes 2 seconds to install it, and then you have set the option to ship it. If you want to do that yourself,
Exactly. There's an app store with Shopify. The same way you find an app store for your iPhone, the Shopify app store allows you to plug in functionality, and a lot of them will allow you 30 days free access as well. You can do an awful lot there. I myself, I used to write Java training courses back in the day. Used to do some programming. So I kind of got into the HTML, tweaked a little bit here and there, but it's pretty cursory. Somebody with some basic HTML experience could handle that. And sorry. Sorry, what's the question?
We have a small team and it was about
I did all of this on my own, and that's the point I try. I don't have a team. This is the team. Yeah, I did all this myself, and that's again why I'm a big proponent of using the platform, because you can do an awful lot on your own and get going.
And this is about something like that. Like, people criticize like a lot of these platforms for everything that's cookie cutter, but out of all the web platforms, Shopify is one of the most customizable on the front end.
And let's be realistic. If you're getting out of the gate, you do not need those customizations. You do not need them. You do not need them, right? I can't emphasize them enough. You're trying to get a business going. Our first template out of Shopify was super basic. We still did over 50 grand worth of revenue, right? You can evolve that design.
Well, it's scalable.
It's completely scalable,
Yeah,
right? You can plug in external apps. There's nothing to stop you from moving this platform onto another platform when you've got the revenue that then can actually justify that investment. So I emphasize getting out of the gate quickly and getting stuff out there quickly, because the sooner you're able to generate revenue, the sooner you can pass that investment back in. And what's more important, you'll actually be able to direct that investment based on the data you're gathering here as well. So one of the other things we have plugged in is Google Analytics. Google Analytics tells us where in the country people are. It also tells us who's buying, right? So interesting metric. We see an awful lot of young people, I think it's in like the 15 to 20-year-old age group, male, visiting the site. You don't know that until you plug in Google Analytics and set up your shop. I can now use that data to actually go and drive my ad campaigns. So I don't need to be going to spend money acquiring the wrong consumers. Right? I'm using that data to go and buy the right consumers. Now, what's also interesting is we can match that data with the actual purchases that happen. Right? So, who do you think's spending more money? The 15 to 25-year-olds or the 25 to 35-year-olds? You can make your guesses, but you don't really know. Everything's a guess. Google Analytics will tell you, right? And we now know for a fact that it's the 25 to 35-year-old age group that's actually spending more money on our products. Probably to do with a higher price point. This device behind retails for about $800, right? So that again is telling me some very useful information. And again, Google Analytics doesn't cost anything. Shopify, you can actually do it for less than $100 a month with a basic template as well. So you start getting that data, you can start making smarter business decisions. I haven't answered your question. I forgot what it was.
to do with the credit card.
False positives on the credit card.
Yeah, and just fraud in general.
Yeah. So one of the great things that Shopify does is it actually validates the credit card information. I wouldn't even know where to start with asking for the consent, right? What it does is it checks the credit card that the person has supplied against their billing address, not against their shipping address. Two different things, right? So if I was buying a product for my brother, let's say, ship it to him, my billing address, his shipping address. It's not going to throw any red flags because the billing address is mine. What Shopify also does is obviously capturing all this information. If there's anything that looks slightly conspicuous, I'll pick up the phone that the customer has supplied in that transaction process and call them. One thing that does drop up, we're seeing these intermediaries show. They're down in places like Florida. They are from orders sort of outside the country. They ordered and have it delivered to this intermediary. What's actually happening is people, say in Indonesia, are acquiring a bunch of fraudulent credit cards. They're then using those credit cards. They don't have the correct address information. They're coming to your site and shipping to a US location. So that throws a red flag of fraud detection. Quite rightly so, because the billing address doesn't match the credit card address. So again, that's something that you need to look out for. There are other platforms out there like eCommerce, things on WordPress, And these things aren't necessarily built into those platforms, and not something I would necessarily have thought about, myself. So.
Just to add, I think Shopify just sold it Riskify. That's just an app of Shopify. This is all about insurance.
Yeah, so please you mentioned Riskify because they actually approached us. Riskify, and this is the same, there's an awful lot of Shopify capabilities, but there's another app for even more capabilities on. So Riskify, they actually sell an app, and they will actually effectively guarantee anything you ship. I didn't feel like that we weren't losing any revenue because we were shipping to anybody correctly though, so I didn't take that step to Riskify, but effectively it's an insurance policy. Any other questions on that stuff?
Can't you guys say about small tips? Do you get many of those?
One lady, one instance I remember, the lady, well it wasn't a lady, we had a transaction come through and they had the billing address, I think, and it was in Canada. They had the person's name. The details didn't match up. We were getting a red flag. So for some reason or other, I took it upon myself to search for this person in Canada. I actually found them. I confirmed with them that it wasn't their order, and they then subsequently got in touch with the police. But I wanted to do that from my perspective. I don't know if any of you have ever had a credit card used fraudulently. It's a pain in the arse. Just getting things rectified. And she was so grateful. We of course cancelled the transaction, but she subsequently got in touch with the police. Yeah. Do the right thing, I guess. Is what I'm getting. So I think as you start to get going, dip your toe into this stuff. Try and do it as much as you can yourself. Follow the instructions. And then start to outsource things once you have an understanding of this, because now you're speaking from a point of understanding. You're not just giving it to somebody and letting them wrap you around the axle with some complex terms or advice or whatever it is. Don't give somebody that endless piece of string to capitalize on you. Of course, it's going to add cost to the equation, but at least if you've done this stuff yourself, you understand what it's worth. If you start to get the data, you understand what it's worth. You know what it's worth spending on these kind of areas. And there's also some smart things you can do. If you build your own website, you can start to build your own community. Has anyone explored building communities here? Can I show hands around their products? Awesome. So the thing I like about this is you can turn your community members into your distributed advocates, and in some instances, sales people. So one of the things we set up was a referral program, very easy to do. You can effectively cut people a percentage of a sale. Right? You have to spend money on advertising, customer acquisition anyway. If people are riding your products, in our instances, or wearing your products, or using your products in and around, it's just natural. People are always, the people in our community are always being stopped and asked, what is it? Where did you get it from? Where can I buy it? And as soon as you empower that community, you've now created, effectively a sales team, right? And you're only paying that sales team based on performance. You only pay them as and when the sale comes through. So that's one thing you can do. Social media, we talked about that earlier. Social media is again a great way. People love to take pictures, right? People love to take pictures. If you're getting tagged in people's pictures, if people are mentioning you in their posts, that's great. And people do love to talk about that stuff. People love to, with us, people love to film videos of themselves and these things, right? We also created a chat group as well. One of the things, just being one person, people have a ton of questions. Like, how can I do this? How can I do that? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? Has someone tried this? What's the maximum weight limit? I mean, the list goes on. We've created a community now that effectively services itself. Right? We have a Facebook group. People join that Facebook group. We tell people about that Facebook group. We organize weekly rides. We get the community together. Now, what happens at these weekly rides? Well, we all gather. A crowd gathers around because they're curious. We don't have a physical store, but we're almost creating a pop-up shop in these weekly meetups. So again, another way to have people engage. And these things have resulted in real sales. So we've got our community creating an awful lot of content. Another thing that actually people overlook is working particularly well for us is Reddit. Anyone use Reddit? Show of hands. Yeah, I guess it's part and parcel of the type of product we're dealing with. Very technical, or very much a piece of kind of the geek mentality, and they're on Reddit. But there's also various forums in and around these kind of products as well. We made sure we were on there. We let people know. We put promos out there. We get people engaged. But that is probably one of the best things. Howard, also, I think you raised your hand about social. What are you doing on social? What are you doing on social in and around communities?
Basically, one of the sites we do is a health and beauty site.
Yeah.
So basically, really interested in the products, having people show the products being applied, they're applying products.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's a great way for people to help each other.
It's a great way to get product photography as well. If anyone's ever spent money getting products, taking pictures of, I mean, that's, again, expensive. In this instance, there's already product photography when you're working with an existing product, so we didn't have to worry about that. Again, if you're working with a drop shipper or manufacturer, make sure we get the product photography, but again, social is a great way to have that imagery created. What else? Yeah, this is a community. This is, or some of the community, I should say. Everyone's on these wheels. This is a meetup we had down in the financial district, but I mean, everybody here who starts to ride these things starts to become borderline obsessed with them. Everybody here is started riding over a year ago. This picture is pretty old. This was last summer, right? It's 2015, and these guys are all still riding, all still a member of the community. So I can't express that enough. What else? Oh yeah. So coming back to the legal question. So one of the things that happened was I actually got a phone call. We were out there in the community, and I actually got a phone call from Fox 5 in New York. This is actually the second appearance we did here. I wasn't wearing my sweatshirt in the first instance, but they asked us to come on and speak about hoverboards. In this instance, we were asked about the legal side of things. This is Jose Peralta. He's actually a New York State Senator. And lots of people were apparently getting profiled on hoverboards and getting tickets issued. There was a tweet issued by, I think it was by the NYPD, and the NYPD was saying hoverboards are illegal, but apparently the law they were actually referencing was a state law, not a city law. And we were asked to appear on the news and really comment on this. And Jose Peralta, actually, the senator, was like, this is a state law, this isn't a city law, so we understand that the cause of the public's concern, there's a lot of ambiguity around it. So we actually ended up working with the state senator around getting personal transportation devices legalized. And what we actually see here, this is us on the steps of City Hall, actually getting that legislation put in place. Right, so there was a bill signed and put in place. This is me, this is another member of our community. And again, we're getting free press coverage here. I mean, not to mention the TV coverage we got here. We actually had Jose, Mr. Peralta here on a hoverboard racing across the studio floor. I then found myself and this happened. This was before Christmas, before the holidays. This was after the holidays, and then this was weirdly like February, January time. Even though that picture was shot at the same time that happened. And I was flattered to be sharing the cover of BBC Capital with Donald Trump and Vinny. But I didn't know about this until a friend called me up. He happened to be a fellow Brit. He's working in New Jersey. Says, Tim, I've just seen your picture on the BBC. I was like, what? Sure it's me? So I'm pretty damn sure it's you. Can you send me a link? And well, I had to take a snapshot because this is now a result, but this is a result of all that culmination of all that effort, right? It's the PR, and people, I've got Hoodriders on me, right? Hoodriders.com. The article references hoodriders.com, right? Now I can send people to my own site, not some generic Amazon experience. There's a phone number there where they can reach out to me directly. There's community engagement where they can see other people writing this stuff. Greg Kelly his father's, you know, everyone knows Ray Kelly, the old NYPD commissioner. He called me an expert on these devices. He's like our local expert on hoverboards. I had to stop myself from chuckling. Yes, I know about hoverboards. And I guess it's so new, I am an expert, but just by default, they're so new. But we got Greg along to one of our meetup groups, and yeah, I mean, it's been a good adventure. What else we got here?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Did you send it to Casey Neistat yet?
We did send it to Casey Neistat and got absolutely nothing.
Really?
Yeah. So one of the challenges with this is it's not something you can get on and write immediately, right? There is a learning curve. I've seen some people pick it up in as little as 20 minutes. Me personally, it took about a week. I was practicing maybe an hour to a day. It took me a week to learn. And there is a high learning curve, but there's a high addictive factor after you put across that learning curve. But you need to evolve as well. I mean, the wheels are good, they're unique, they're not being stocked anywhere like Walmart, you know, any or Best Buy or any of those chains yet. I think these chains are scared to carry them because of the potential accidents people could have. We saw them carrying hoverboards after a period of time, right? Hoverboards eventually made it into the chain stores, but not immediately. And I think they moved there after they saw the success that they were having. People just start to accept, well, I'm going to have an accident, I need to be careful. And as soon as that's embedded within the consumer mindset, retailers are automatically feeling more comfortable. Everyone saw that Mike Tyson knockout on the hoverboard, yeah? Right? After that, it was kind of everybody. It's a very high chat question.
Is there anything you had to do to protect yourself more in case like someone falls or?
We did have a waiver form on our website. Again, very set up through Shopify. We cut and paste the text in and made it a checkbox. I think that's a standard piece of Shopify functionality, but we ended up cutting and pasting the code from another user. But it didn't really make a difference, right? I think it's a barrier to the transaction cycle, the transaction flow. So we don't have it on there anymore. I mean, there's enough news articles about people having accidents on these things for it just to be common these days, for commonly accepted that they're risky. Of course, we sell safety gear on the site. We sell pads, we sell helmets. We recommend people take precautions.
What are you doing with the live chat, especially with the chat box?
We're not doing anything with live chat. I think we have our phone number there. People would always rather pick up a phone. I also relate this back to personal experiences as well. How often have I engaged people on chat? I've seen it pop up, go away, pop up, go away. You know, I'm forever clicking these things away as a consumer. In some instances I am using them. Amazon don't have a chat box. Other places do. I don't think Best Buy has a chat box. It could be something to consider. But
As you guys think chat box, which is where you're talking to an AI and just
oh, chatbot. Sorry, chatbot. Sorry. Yeah, way too advanced. We have to feed it with a bunch of intelligence.
well, there's some field now that you can actually plug into and do answer a lot of questions.
Yeah. So I could consider it. I think I would want to know what that's going to do for me. I would experiment with it for 30 days and see and run a test group to see how many people are converting as a result of exposure to that. But yeah, I mean, spending $100 a month on Shopify, what's that actually going to do? Again, we've got the framework in place to be able to measure that. So yeah, it could be something. How are we doing for time, guys?
I'll take a few questions. We have 2 questions here. Do a quick Q&A.
I was curious, you know, just as a small business owner, you've gone through any of the exercises like a SWOT analysis, and if so, if there's like a way to articulate that to maybe some other, you know, job owners, that would be useful.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're always thinking about ways we can do all of that, right? You're continually thinking about ways you can evolve your business. How can you shore up your position Where are you seeing other people in the market? Where are threats coming from? I mean, it's something that continually goes on. I think as this has evolved, I'm now wanting to put more effort on third parties, on contractors. I engaged a SEM agency, but they didn't really get our business. Like everyone, they'll do their, an SEM agency will go out there, they'll research the keywords for you, they'll listen to what you have to say about your product, but they don't really get your business. You have to spend time guiding them. Right? They'll set up your search, your AdWords campaigns, and that works to some degree. But after they've set it up, we really didn't see. We saw an incremental benefit in using it, but the cost of acquisition was so high. It's like, well, I'm negating any benefit of using you guys. So I'm paying for the service, and I'm paying for cost of acquisition now, so it doesn't really work out. Net zero.
I have a question about your company itself. Like, I get asked a lot of questions. Is e-commerce is something I can get started part-time? Did you start this with the full intent, this is what you're going to be doing, or did you say, hey, I'm going to do it as a sideline and see how it goes, and where is it now?
It was always a passion project. So I run a consulting company. We deal in big data, marketing analytics, advertising analytics. We work with Fortune 500 companies to help them better run ad campaigns. So whether it's a Unilever who's spending $10 million a year on their advertising and wasting 17% of it, we'll tell them, you're wasting 17% and this is how. We don't get involved in the media buying, but we do that level of, very fine grained level of analysis. That will be my core business and focus. Will always be my core business and focus. This has many different facets, right? Number one, it's a passion project. It's something I enjoy doing. I always want to keep my head wrapped around technology. It's also a platform we can experiment with technology. Right? Our clients and customers always ask us what works, what doesn't work. We now have effectively a prototype practice site where we can deploy tech, right, at no risk to our clients and see how it works. Of course, we're not getting the same amount of traffic a Fortune 500 company is, but we can use it as a test bed to actually deploy these things. Side question, does anybody have any Adobe Analytics expertise? Go show of hands. You should speak afterwards. You should speak afterwards.
First of all, thank you. Achieved all the goals that you set forth during the first year. And secondly, it would seem to me that with this kind of product, there would be such a great opportunity for physical presence
Yeah.
in London and in Rome and in all of these different places. So at what point do you add to your e-commerce with your physical people on the ground? I mean, how do you think of those?
Yeah, good question. So I think when we started it out, interesting question. So I think you can generate passive income in many different ways, right? But a lot of times it's about having the money to do that. You might have a friend who's bought an investment property that they're trying to rent out, and that generates some sort of passive income, right? You need to put down a deposit to buy that home. You need to qualify for the mortgage, and the amount you make in rent needs to do more than cover the mortgage to deliver that rent. So let's just say you're spending 280 grand, you need to put down 20%, cover closing costs. You need 70 grand to be able to maybe break even, make $50 a month. Now, of course, that property is growing in value. But you need 70 grand and you need a mortgage, and you're not really going to find a place for 280 grand in the new market. Right? Realities. E-commerce company, you can get up and running for literally less than $1,000. That's my capital investment. And then I can start to throw money at this thing as the data tells me to. And now I can start to generate an income stream from that. Now, what you also need to know is you're now a small business owner, and you can actually start to write off an awful lot of expenses on your tax return. Office expenses, meals out with clients and customers, social events with your community. That's a harder thing to do with a property. So again, not only are you doing that, but you're actually building a skill set that you can then go and market as an independent consultant. We have a few of them here, I know. As an independent consultant to actually sell that level of expertise. You know, you could make a good 6-figure salary doing this kind of work with an industry player like those out there. I certainly want to make it. Why don't we open a physical store?
I'm not necessarily suggesting physical store.
Yeah, I think, well, I've considered pop-ups and a physical store. I think the physical store, again, it requires a financial commitment I'm not ready to make yet. I did see a hoverboard store spring up in the West Village and came and it went. It's kind of an unpredictable, volatile market. So it's a big sell down. I could well do a pop-up store. I looked at it. So that's a lot of questions. I probably need to hand back to you, Ken, to
All right.
round this to an end.
Thank you very much for the wealth of information.
Yes.